So a few months ago, I was just getting back from my local pizzeria, right? And I get a phone call, and it's them. They're calling me saying, "Hey, you left your wallet. Please come and get it." Okay, weird. So I go on down, I get my wallet. I walk in and say, "Hey, you have my wallet." So the guy behind the counter kind of grabs a wallet, looks at it, looks up at me. I recognize it. It's mine. He's like, "It's not your wallet." I'm like, "Oh, yes, it is." He kind of looks down confused, and I don't blame him, right? I mean, I would be really confused too. He goes, "What's your address?" And I'm like, "You know what? I'll do you one better. My license number is S3000-1919. So he looks down to confirm for what seems like an eternity, and then he looks at me, square in the face, and he blurts out one word: "How?" Well, actually, you know what? I'm glad you asked. Sorry. Welcome to my TED Talk. This is Breaking Free, or how when we understand and harness our brain's powerful processes, we can quite literally change our reality. Hello, everybody. I'm Dave Kerr. I'm a part-time student here at Babson, and although my background is in defense, I'm passionate about all things contained up here. I would like to invite everybody on an exciting and, well, honestly, bumpy journey of trauma, self-discovery, and rebirth. Along the way, we're going to learn some awesome behavioral and neuroscience that's going to actually help us break free from what our brain wants us to do. Now, breaking free is all about becoming the best possible version of yourself, both inside and out. More on this later. So I suppose our story starts in 2018, the year that license picture is actually from. You see, 2018 and 2019 were some of the toughest years of my adult life. In the summer of 2018, one of my business ventures began to financially fail. And, you know, they say lightning never strikes the same place twice, right? Well, in my case, it did, because in September of the same year, my grandmother passed away. She was 99. It was a devastating loss to my family and I. This venture continued into 2019 under constant stress of the business. I was faltering. 2019 would again prove to be a very painful year. That summer saw the end of my 7-year-long relationship with my girlfriend and the eventual death of the venture. Oh, and by the way, both these things happened on the same day. Countless hours of hard work and dedication went into supporting this thing, and nearly 2 years of my salary as well as all my life savings was gone. The whole experience was like holding on to an electric fence. It's painful, and you desperately want the pain and pressure to let up by letting go, but you can't, because the electrical current is causing your muscles to contract, making it nearly impossible to let go. Emotional. So I would continue on, and it's not often that we would understand the choices we have, right? In that moment, I knew that everything was about to change. Everything was bad. I was desperately trying to find my way out of it, and the whole experience was kind of like this. You know, I wasn't fine. I was actually far from fine. You know, not many of us can understand the gravity of a decision while we're making it, right? But I knew that the next decision that I was about to make was going to change everything. So on July 20th, 2019, under the pinks, reds, and blues of a beautiful New Hampshire sunset, I made my defining choice. I chose to start living instead of waiting to die. I knew I had to make a change, and I had an idea. Remember, I'm passionate about all things up here. And so I don't have time to talk about everything that I would like to talk to you about. I knew that in order for me to start living, that I would actually have to break out of the self-imposed prison that was my mind. It was my brain was a prisoner guard, and I was a prisoner. I don't have time to talk about everything, as I said, that I'd love to talk to you about today, but I've picked my top 3 tools and techniques that I believe will really help you on your own journeys. That'll be breaking free of limbic control, what I've dubbed self-empathy, and finally, striving for greatness through vulnerability. Did you know that our mind literally warps our perception of our reality, our own personal set of glasses colored by our own unique experiences in life? And that these glasses will actually obscure your ability to make effective decisions when you don't have all the data? Did you know that these glasses can actually be removed? Or you can disrupt this mechanism that alters your ability to accurately make decisions and see the real consequences that they have? Our brains are literally hardwired to prevent harm, a built-in self-preservation switch, if you will. As a result of this switch, scientists at the University of Iowa believe to some degree that our brains will actually hijack our conscious behavior and influence us to choose something safer, something familiar. In their experiment, they got participants to alter their behavior to avoid harm, but they couldn't get participants to explain why they were choosing a safer option until much later in the experiment. That means that our brains are actually making decisions for us to protect us. And we didn't even know about this. Well, of course, until now. So why does this matter to us? Well, I kind of want to be in charge of my own decisions, right? Our brains are essentially pattern recognition machines. And remember, they like to hijack our conscious behavior in order to avoid pain, avoid harm. Now, we combine this with Dr. Daniel Kahneman's aversion theory, or the belief that the psychological pain of losing is twice as powerful as the pleasure of gaining, and we are all being fed information through our own personal lenses. And that's the problem, right? Breaking free is all about disrupting these processes. Now, when you're faced with uncertainty, how many of you go through scenarios in your head? Yep. Me too. How many of you go to the worst possible scenario in your head? Always, right? Yeah. What if I was to tell you that this was your brain's way of actually trying to protect you, so it's actually influencing your decision-making by skewing the possible outcomes to your choices, right? I mean, sure, these things are possible, but let's break free a little bit, right? Let's, change our perceived reality. Now that when I first started off, right, I would constantly go to the worst possible outcome. I was really risk averse. But now that I knew about aversion theory, I knew that jumping to extremes was just my prisoner guard trying to keep me locked up. So over time, I would actually use metacognition or self-awareness to disrupt this process. I would accurately assess, what are my consequences? 9 out of 10 times, I was seeing things in an extreme way. Over time, right, I would then use logic again to disrupt this. And then instead of only seeing the negatives, I would start to examine the positives. We need to be able to make decisions based in baseline reality, as in without our own personal filters. We, in a way, break free from the negative. So, basically, our first technique is breaking limbic control, removing our shades. Our next technique is something I've dubbed self-empathy. Now, I could probably see from a lot of confused looks here, what do you mean self-empathy? I clearly know what I'm feeling because I'm feeling it. This isn't exactly what I mean. This is a little mental exercise that I started doing once I realized that helping others stimulates the part of the brain that creates something that is known as the happiness trifecta, which consists of neurotransmitters, serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin. So what do I mean by self-empathy? Well, if I'm faced with having to do something that I really don't want to do at that exact moment in time, I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to put myself in my future self's shoes. How would he feel about this decision? Would he be upset if I procrastinated and add excess work or even stress to his day? If that's the case, well, then I'm going to go ahead and be kind to my future self, and I'm going to get some work done. Now, this does two things for us. One, it effectively transfers the stress of the work and its responsibility. But two, and more importantly, it actually gives you a pleasure response in the brain because you're helping somebody else. That other person just so happens to be the future version of yourself. Now, something remarkable happens when you practice this enough. You actually start to generate authentic and organic self-compassion. You see, once you start doing things for your future self, you eventually start to look back and love and appreciate that your past self allowed you to become the best version of your current self. This, of course, then creates a positive behavioral loop where you're constantly doing things to help your future self. This is one of the most powerful tools that I use in my toolkit every single day. Now, there's another interesting aspect about using this particular method, and it's the fact that you're actually going to be able to start seeing your own personal growth, right? It's like you'll be able to look at your current self and compare it to past versions of yourself. It's almost like looking back at your high school yearbook picture and saying, oh man, what was I thinking with that hair? Ugh. I rest my case, but in all seriousness, it's very important, right, to be aware of our personal growth and be aware that you should always be growing in one way or another. So next time you want to push off a paper or anything for that matter, put yourself in your own self's shoes, even one day in the future. I guarantee you, you're going to end up doing that paper, whatever it is. So self-empathy will help break us free further, but it's not really the only thing that we need to really break free. For that, we need to talk about vulnerability. So there's another researcher that is near and dear to my heart, and that is Brené Brown. Brown is widely known for her research on vulnerability. According to Brown, vulnerability is the willingness to show up and share your authentic self, even though you have no control over the outcome of your interactions. And she goes around talking about how everybody wears armor to protect themselves, and she's right. Everything we know about neuro and behavioral science states our brains will literally influence our behavior to avoid harm. And to our brains, right, vulnerability equals weakness, weakness equals death, and death is simply not allowed. But the thing is vulnerability really is the final piece of the puzzle, the key to unlocking yourself, if you will. Now, how do we allow ourselves to become vulnerable? Well, according to Brown's research, there's a few easy steps to get you there. Now, I understand this is hard. It takes enormous courage to allow yourself to become vulnerable, but you got this. Take baby steps. There is a great deal of strength with being comfortable while you're uncomfortable. So stop worrying about what others think of you, right? Everybody's literally in their own little worlds. Next time you're feeling overwhelmed, go ahead and ground yourself. Focus on your breath or your breathing before you return to whatever it is you're working on. And finally, strive for greatness, not perfection. Perfection is a way we hold ourselves back from obtaining our goals. Remember, we're trying to break out, move forward, not be held back. Now, why do I consider vulnerability to be the most important tool that I practice? Well, now that's easy. Because without vulnerability, I would have remained inside my comfort zone. And that's honestly the worst place to be. Do you want to know why? You see, that place just outside your comfort zone where we feel the most vulnerable, that's where brilliance lives. That's where failure lives. That's where opportunity lives. That's where personal growth and wisdom lives. And that's where you should live at all times. If you're not feeling vulnerable all the time, you're doing something wrong. You're stagnating. You're standing still. Vulnerability has taught me to strive for greatness. But it has also taught me that it's all right when we fall short every now and then. It's all right to fail because it gives us another opportunity to learn and succeed. Vulnerability can show us where we can improve. It can break down barriers. It's how we connect. It'll help set you free, break you free. Now, I get it. Many of you will say, "Nah, I'm good." I understand. I do. What I'm proposing is hard. It is not easy to see the world in such terms. But we do not do these things because they are easy. We do these things because they're hard, right? Everything I have learned has taught me we're doing this whole life thing wrong. We've closed ourselves off from the world, disconnected from each other. We were never meant to be isolated and alone. Humans are social creatures. We've hardened ourselves, and even some of us have left kindness behind. There is a better way, and these are some of your first steps. Break free of limbic control and make the best decisions for yourself. Break free of your comfort zone and allow yourself to experience everything the human condition has to offer. Break free by tearing down barriers and allow yourself to connect with those around you authentically. Break free and allow yourself to practice self-love and empathy. Break free and allow yourself to fail. Break free and allow yourself to be more human than everyone else around you. Now, my journey is far from over, but your journeys are just beginning. Let this be your defining moment. Now, when I look out onto all of you here in the audience, I see hope. You have already taken your first step. You're here. You're aware of such things now. Now I invite all of you to take a second step into a brighter, healthier, abundant future. Break free with me. Allow me to help you see the world for all its beauty. Because you see, once you start to recognize the beauty around you, and you can recognize it inside you, then your reality begins to shift. It literally changes. Once you've broken free, others will flock to you. And when they come to you and they say, how? Tell them. Help them understand how they can change the world around them. We can change the world together, build a stronger and healthier future. We can change our entire realities together. Remember, breaking free all starts up here. Thank you.